boys. I try to stay calm and get relaxed during these things. Billy watches the show. It's the only thing I can think of. I know I say it week in and week out, but Billy does it week in and week out. He impresses the hell out of me, boys. Let's have ourselves a day. Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to, of course, the best day of the week here at High Top Sports. And if you're living under a rock, Billy just landed himself not one, not two, but 3 commits just moments before we went live on the show. And I always joke that Billy watches the show. Like, I'm literally deep down inside to my soul starting to believe that he actually is like, look, guys, we got to do some marketing out here. We know the boys are going live. We know this crackhead will go absolutely berserk with whatever we throw at him. Let's just throw it out there and hope it sticks. And by golly, Billy, you're right, because tickle me pink, I'm fired up. Probably wanted to show, why aren't you wearing the spacesuit with 3 commits? Well, we got Beat Miami shirts on sale right now, and they're selling like hotcakes. And they're absolutely phenomenal, and they're comfortable. But that isn't the best part of even today, the 3 commits. We got Cam Parker coming in because he was there today, boots on the ground, watching these boys, this 2024 class, undefeated class, looking nice and dicey, boys. Before we get to Cam, though, 170 strong. Smash the like button, subscribe. And, of course, Big Dave. What's up, big dog?
What's up, baby? You know, High Top Wednesday. It's on fire over there in Gainesville. I just found out.
Baby.
In the shower, I was like, man, we got all these commits all of a sudden. I just took a shower. You know, David, they all say Dave doesn't shower, but I shower every day. It's Wednesday. It's the best day of the week. Let's get it. Let's go. And I get to wear the lane chain 2 weeks in a row.
Good looking shirt, too. Good looking shirt. I if I do say so myself. I love it.
Oh, yeah. You know, like that. Yeah.
Looks good. Looks extra good tonight, boys. So look, that's why we're not wearing the spacesuit. I had this outfit planned out for the last week. Finally got here in the mail. Terry Johnson, $10 super chat, boys. Billy Ball is rolling, and we are rolling into a hot and spicy show with the mullet, the stash, all the above. Looks like he's got a new setup too, boys. Cam Parker, what's going on, big dog? Good to see you, Cam. Good to see you.
What heard rumors of statues being built, All-American bricks getting ready to go in, and something about this recruiting class, you know. Happy Juicy July, everybody. You know, what an end to the month. It is a great day.
Juicy July comes in strong. I'm glad we lost Jubilee June. I thought we were going to lose Juicy July. Billy said, hold my bear. I got you. And we still got Amazing August. Looking like it could be a big one here, too. So, Sexy September. Yeah. We've got the months labeled out, Billy. You just got to do what you got to do, baby. You know what I'm saying? We got marketing on point here, boys. We got all the months labeled up. So Naked November, don't get me twisted with that. We start doing some crazy things. I'll get bug nasty with it, Billy. I'm just letting you know, you do some crazy things in November. I got you.
I was about to say, we were about 6 hours away from Juicy July, and then all of a sudden, man, you know, Billy comes in
at the buzzard. You gotta love it. But look, we got a lot to go over. We've got to talk about what happened today. You got probably 15 minutes of boots on the ground. I know you were hustling and busting and running all over the place trying to get clips and all these things, and I was just eating it up, gobbling it up. And then you had a little article with Russ Callaway calling plays. Very interesting thought there, something we've been talking about all offseason. This is the first time I think people have been able to speak to Russ since the announcement of him calling plays has been led on to believe. Let's talk about this today. What happened? Give me your biggest takeaway, like just short summary. What was the most exciting thing you saw? And then we'll get into the weeds a little bit.
I mean, with fall campus starting, it's exciting to see the new guys that are on campus. They made some moves in the portal after spring. They finally get Amir Jackson and Aaron Childs on campus. So it's great to see those guys out there. Now, you know, spring, it feels like kind of the team, but when you get to fall camp, you get to see the full aspect of what the team looks like going into the season. So it was cool to see those guys out there. I can confirm Cormani McClain is still on the team. He has not been removed.
Somebody tag Polk.
Hold on.
Somebody tag Polk.
Oh, you mean? I was about to say, you mean the guy with the weird hand was incorrect?
Listen. I just report the news. That's it. I just report the news. But it was good. It was good to see everyone out there. One of the biggest things that I personally took away was how healthy the linebacker core is right now. I wrote that in my practice observations recap type article. They weren't healthy at all in the spring. You had Shamar James and Derek Wingo were limited. Miles Graham was knocked out after like the second practice with the back surgery. Aaron Childs wasn't even on campus yet, and now you have all those guys full go. So it was good to see the entire linebacker core out there working without those black non-contact jerseys. Hoping it stays that way when all the way through the rest of the month. So it was good to see those guys and a lot of the newcomers out there. And that's really the biggest takeaway you can take from a day like today, because we only get about 10 to 15 minutes out there. They're all on air drills. So it was good to see the new guys out there, at least, just a breath of fresh air after, the way spring was.
So Brendan nails it on the head. You know what was awesome about day one? Mertz throwing a ball to Mazzell. Half as many
Oh,
as Mazzell caught all last year. You can deny or whatever, but it looked like it was like a 70 to 85-yard pass from Mertz to. It may have not been that long, but don't need to say if it wasn't that long. Don't tell me. But I think it was that long to Mazzell. Beautiful pass. Look, this kind of you start to get a little bit of insight of the depth chart with wide receiver room. Dave and I were in a full-blown fist fight before the show about who's starting where for good reason. And then we kind of settled down. We took the gloves off. I mean, this is a good argument to have. There's just so much talent and so much speed. We genuinely don't know who the number 2 guy is going to be behind Eugene. I think Eugene is, definitely number 2. And even all people think DK will be, but I think that's how good this room is. Don't think I know that this room is that good that Mazzell could arguably to be number 2, right? That's where we're at with this, which is electric. I think Mazzell is going to, from what I saw, the 30-second clips, getting a lot of reps at number 2. Am I right there?
yeah, he got some early reps in it. Again, the way with this receiving core, it kind of reminds me of the early days of the Dan Mullen era before everything kind of went poorly, where they had plenty of guys that they could rotate in at receiver. So it never truly felt like, well, you had your number 1 guy, but you also had a bunch of guys that can rotate in right when you need them. And that's how it feels now. Eugene Wilson's going to be your number 1 guy, but it feels like they have a good, solid core surrounding him that they could throw guys in at different spots. Chimere Dike was working in the slot today. We had a few other guys who were working outside that could also play inside. Aiden Mizell was getting some early reps. And so, plenty of guys who can make impacts on the field this year. Obviously, with the experienced quarterback like Graham Mertz, that certainly helps, especially if he's taking that jump that the coaches expect him to make. The main question with that obviously still is going to be the offensive line. It's a relatively new unit. If they can keep Graham Mertz up and give him time, I don't see any reason why the wide receivers can't have success finally in downfield passes.
Yeah, we were before the show. We were talking about like, hey, you went into last year and you knew Ricky Pearsall was going to be the main wide receiver. We didn't know what Eugene was going to be. Anybody else before the season starts. Now you head into this season. You got DK from the portal. You have in Badger. You have in just so many other guys that you can name right now. And like we said before the program, it's a good problem to have because last year you were just saying, okay, how are we going to get the ball out to anybody? Because we only have one main receiver. We have all these question marks here. Now it starts to clear up a little bit as you get down the stretch.
And the big thing that we've kind of been, pounding on all off season is that Boardingham, Eugene, Mazzell, this is their second time through with Mertz. And that's why I think there's such I put so much emphasis on the fact that this is going through a second year. We haven't had that in 4 or 5 years. A quarterback played for 2 years at the University of Florida to have some consistency and to build a relationship with these guys. And that was something I felt like we kind of lost last year. I think Eugene, I think surely this is where I'm excited about Eugene. Eugene did that by sheer talent. The chemistry was probably there, not like it was with obviously Ricky, but you got to think that this chemistry is going to be through the roof alongside DK, who he already had chemistry coming in, and then everyone else who's been there for 2 years now. It excites me. Did you get a chance to look at the offensive line? Everyone's going to ask about it. I don't think we've got too much. This is the only clip that I got from offensive line, and we didn't see much.
No, it's just the first day. Everyone obviously goes and looks at the skill positions. Especially Elijah Badger was the big one that a lot of people were watching today because he's the big new guy. Aaron Childs has gotten hyped throughout the week because of the press conferences, so a lot of people were watching him. Defensive line just because Gerald Chapman is awesome to go watch coach. He's fantastic. So there's another practice tomorrow, so I was planning on watching the offensive line a little bit more. there's not really any surprises necessarily on there. It looks like it's the group that they were working with in the spring starting out. Austin Barber at left tackle, Najee Harris at left guard, Jake Slaughter at center, Damian George at right guard, and then Brandon Crenshaw Dixon at right tackle. As far as working behind them, feels like a coin flip, especially when you add in a guy like Jason Zandamela post spring. But again, also the way I look at it is that right guard position is kind of still up for grabs. It feels like the other four are locked down, but the Damian George right guard spot, there's plenty of guys who could step in and maybe make an impact there. So I don't have anything too much on that yet. I was planning on watching them a little bit more tomorrow and getting a feel for it, but even then, like it still feels like a decently deep group that they just haven't had in a long time. So, hope that there's improvement there. They need improvement there. But it's just one of those things that time will tell because there's so many new pieces on there right now and guys moving spots too.
Now let's I mean again, offensively we saw those clips. I think look, we were excited about that last year. DJ looked good, the ball was thrown well. Defensively, obviously, is the next big question. This clip of the D line, and I'm going to talk more about it with Stephen Harris on Monday. We've got Champs Corner coming up. He's fired up. We'll have more tape, obviously, then to go over and I get his. I love getting his perspective on these things, but that little clip that we saw there, the energy coming off the line, the guys falling through the bag, tossing it off. For me, just from watching from last year to this year, every rep seemed to have purpose behind it. And again, there was a lot of noise from multiple reporters about the noise coming from that Gerald Chapman's corner, just electric the entire practice, which is exactly what that defensive line needs. How much of the defense did you watch? And I saw some clips that you posted of Graham and Pup. The linebacker room, we're going to talk a little bit at the bottom half of the show, Dave and I. By golly, is it gorgeous. Just paint me the Mona Lisa. It's fire me. I mean, I'm fired up if you guys can't tell. Like, holy shit, let's go.
Well, that was the position group going into the fall that I personally was most excited to watch because they weren't healthy in the spring.
Sure.
All of your main guys were hurt. Again, you had Shamar and Wingo were limited because of injuries. Miles Graham hardly was there for spring because of a back injury, and Aaron Childs wasn't even on campus yet.
Sure.
So now you add into it, all of those guys are on campus, they're healthy, they're full go. I'm excited to watch that group, and so I made sure to watch a little bit of them today. And again, it's bigger than it was. I know that there are a few guys on Twitter who were excited about just the size of the group. Some people saying Miles Graham doesn't look like a freshman. I can confirm he does not look like a freshman. He looks like an upperclassman.
Does Childs look like he's a senior headed into his rookie year? Aaron Childs, is that confirmed? I heard rumors about that as well.
Give him the gold jacket now. That's all I'm saying. Just give him the gold jacket and call it a career. But for there's a lot of reasons to be confident in this group because of the sheer talent that they brought in. Add into it that these linebackers are just playing bigger, stronger, just better overall group than they've had in the past couple of years. And you have a guy like Ron Roberts who's leading them, and not to overhype before the season goes in, but this is a guy legend in his respective field. He invented the defense that Austin Armstrong is calling. So you add a guy with that experience to a relatively younger group, but extremely talented group. I think there's a lot of reasons that they can be confident in this group. You got to tackle. You have to tackle, and they didn't do that too well last year. Some of the guys who weren't great at tackling aren't on the team anymore. So we'll see how these youngsters do, but there's a lot of reasons to be confident in that group specifically. And going back to the D-line, like you said, the Gerald Chapman energy, you feel it from when you're watching the other side of the field, watching the defensive backs. You could hear him from 150, 200 yards away. Like he's energetic, he's loud, he's ready to go. And I think that that's rubbing off on a lot of the guys in that room because, like you said, they need that. They just did not have that energy or that excitement last year. And you get that with a guy with Gerald Chapman.
Stephen Harris mentioned that energy there. We've got, ladies and gentlemen, 400 strong in here with Cam Parker on boots on the ground today. We love Cam. I had notifications turned on, so he'll be there. I'm assuming almost every day that he's allowed to be there. So be sure to turn those notifications on. He almost ruined the Olympics for me. I'm not going to hold up against him. I had to turn notifications off. I haven't watched yet, so don't say anything, Cam. But Dave, I'm going to pass it to you before I ask a little bit more about the edge position here. I mean, obviously we got some thoughts on the defensive line, but go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I was just going to support what Cam said earlier. I mean, if you look at the missed tackles, especially if you watch that spring game, that's something I noticed, and that was like the first thing that popped up to me in that spring game was there was hardly any missed tackles in that game. And like Cam said, your leading missed tacklers from last year, Scooby Williams, Jaden Hill, Miguel Mitchell, Bryce Thornton, Jordan Castell. I mean, 8 here, Bryce Thornton here, but it really goes up with Miguel Mitchell, Jaden Hill, Scooby Williams. They're all off the team. They're not here anymore. And on top of that, I mean, I interviewed Miles Graham. And I remember when I interviewed Miles Graham when I was running Getting Swamped, I said, man, this kid's got some big traps. And he's in high school. Like, and then I see him in person and I'm like, dude, this kid looks like he could play college ball now. So, I mean, like, especially when you combine him with Aaron Childs, and if you watched the Under Armour All-American game, and I know it's just an Under Armour All-American game, but it's some of the best in the nation, they did really, really good, both of them, in that Under Armour All-American game. So, I mean, I'm pretty pumped, especially from what you said, and obviously, you know, you missed 116 tackles last year. You cut that down to just like 70. Like, that's like 7 missed tackles per game, maybe less than that.
Seeing this linebacker room, and I'm going to ask you about the sheer size, because obviously strength and conditioning has been a big point of emphasis this offseason. This is like, it's going to be a shot. It is what it is. Seeing these guys now, Miguel Mitchell, right, Scooby, they look like fat cornerbacks playing linebacker to what we're dealing with now. These guys look like legit, like you said, physical linebackers, which is half the battle. Obviously, you still got to play the part. You got to know what you're doing. I think Miles Graham, in my opinion, big size. He's put on a ton since coming in. But both Aaron and Miles, looking back to their high school film, had the part up here already. That was never the question, right? I think it was going to be how quickly can they transition and be that size for college football. And it looks like they did it this offseason. Talk about that a little bit just from last year to this year. Again, could you actually see, like we see photos, we have that, but in person, did it feel like, yeah, everyone looked like they were just more physically in shape, had more energy, just it was a different vibe. I know it's day one.
Yeah.
But thoughts on that?
It felt that way a little bit. I mean, again, the joke with the linebacker room the last couple of years is they've had a bunch of tweeners, guys who,
Yeah.
you know, they they don't have one thing that they're good at. They're too small to play linebacker, but they're too big to play corner or safety. So they kind of just throw them in there and say good luck. Now you have what feels like true traditional linebackers who can go left to right, but also fill a gap, plug a gap, and make a big hit.
Sure.
And I watched Miles Graham plenty when he was at Buchholz last year during my high school coverage, and he looks a little bit at Buchholz. I mean, and I know he missed spring because of the back injury, but we heard it on Monday or the other
Tuesday.
Whenever the started, just about the improvement in a short amount of time in the strength and conditioning program under Tyler Miles, and it's been insane that the stats that they've put out between the fat loss versus the muscle gain, the speed that some of the players have. I think it was Justice Boone talked about, I can take off my shirt right now and show you guys.
Same. He's ripped. Same.
The improvements made. So, and that says a lot too, that the players bought into almost what felt like an emergency hire situation very quickly, because Craig Fitzgerald wasn't here that long. They kind of went into a search quickly, and immediately they said, Tyler Miles, Napier hires him, and everything looks like it's improved in that side. So it's big, and it definitely is going to help the linebacker room, because also, again, they're still relatively young. Aaron Childs and Miles Graham have not played a snap of college football yet. Pup Howard didn't play much at South Carolina. So, although they're talented, these are still young guys. How do you supplement that experience by getting them in the best shape that they can possibly be? That's going to go a long way to helping them this year.
Love that. Now let's talk. We got a super chat I want to read, but Muddy said George Gums is his sleeper. And Brendan called him out because that's been my sleeper since day one. I called George Gums my sleeper because when he got picked up, I think he was a tight end, transferred over, so he didn't have a lot of hype coming behind him. But this young man is huge, like 6'5", I think. I think he's like 2% body fat. That's a lie, but it feels right. The edge position, the edge room, in my opinion, is a room that we're not talking about a lot. Colby Collins switches over from the edge to defensive line. You see the clips here. Pyburn's coming off injury. This room excites me, but there's still some question marks. Did you have a chance to see that room at all? Again, you're thinking it's George Gums, TJ Searcy, Justice Boone, Tyreek Sapp, I heard, has made some movement as well. What do you got for me on that room?
Well, again, it's the same as the other positions. With the sheer depth is a lot better than it has been the last couple of years. The other thing to note was that Brian Taylor Jr. was seen working with the defensive line, the same way Kelby Collins has been, although he I
Okay.
think was listed. So it looks like that he's moved over as well. But those guys that you said, those are your main contributors right there. There's plenty of depth there. Flip a coin on who starts. It's probably going to be Tyreek Sapp and Boone.
Okay.
But TJ is going to be in that rotation. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he's listed as the starter on the depth chart come week 1. There's plenty of opportunity for those guys there. Um, I think it also says a lot too that Mike Peterson is the only remaining defensive assistant from Napier's first year. He has that alumni liaison title added onto it, but the edge position, it's I know it's been very hit or miss for Florida, but Mike Pete has been pretty consistent with everything, and I think that they made a lot of improvements with the depth, the actual guys that they have in the building. It seems like it's a very cohesive group with not a lot of drama to it. Guys that want to put in the work.
I'm picking what you're putting down. I got you, Cam. I'm here. I'm dialed in, baby.
I didn't say it.
That's what I'm here. I'm here to fill in the blanks for you, baby. I read the tea leaves. I got you. That wasn't Cam. That was me. That was me.
But it's a very cohesive group that the guys who are in the room have had a lot of success. TJ Searcy was phenomenal last year. Kelby Collins, I know he's moved position, but he was great last year. Justice Boone, 2 years ago, he had a decent season, kind of as a role player, backup type guy. And I know Tyreek Sapp is seen as a major leader on this defense. So, again, question marks in the sense of, can they actually help improve the defense?
Yeah, can they bring pressure? Something we lacked last year.
Opportunities. They didn't sack the quarterback a whole lot last year. Florida only had 3 picks total because they just didn't get consistent pressure. But if they can do that, especially from that position, the great Florida defenses have always had a great defensive end. Carlos Dunlap, John Grenard, guys like that, Ja'Kai Polite, guys like that who come off the edge, guns a-blazing, ready to hit a quarterback, force a bad throw. You have a good defensive backfield, they'll make the play. So Florida hasn't had a guy like that in a couple of years. Feels like that they kind of have one a little bit with TJ Searcy because of the success that he had last year as a freshman. But you add into it that you have some pretty good veterans in Justice Boone and Tyreek Sapp too. So again, that's one position that I'm going to watch later this week. Probably going to be the offensive line and defensive line tomorrow, and then Friday, a 7:04 practice period. So a late night Twitter session posting up videos. I'll probably be more on that side of the field, the defensive backs, the stars, safeties, and the edge rushers on Friday. That's at least but we'll see how it goes.
We'll tweet you our request for what we want you to go cover. So look, for the edge room, I'll let you go, Dave. Look, Princely, obviously we know he was the big excitement for last year, didn't really pan out like we thought he would. TJ Searcy was a big hit in my opinion as a true freshman. I think genuinely what we lacked last year was the sheer size and the energy and the development, and hopefully that's improved tremendously. I think Justice Boone has made big strides in this offseason. We've heard nothing but great things about him. Tyreek Sapp, I think he played cheerily off of just heart and passion last year. I think the lack in development on the field and off the field and training conditioning was a big factor for him. Obviously, those things have been improved. And then again, the being backed up by George Gums, Pyburn, TJ Searcy. There's a lot of guys in there that I think are going to provide size alongside that defensive line. That defensive line is bulkier than it was last year, too. With Kelby Collins shifting over, you have the ability. And LJ McCray, I almost forgot. LJ McCray coming off the edge as well. I think they trust in him more. We've been hearing a lot about him, and I think we'll hear more as the days goes on. But I think there's a lot of trust in LJ McCray to make a huge leap, and that is the reason why they felt comfortable with moving Kelby over, and probably Brian Taylor, if I had to assume, which is a good thing, right? You're able to now have true depth in both positions. Dave, what do you got, big man?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is like Brian Taylor, you brought him in from the JUCO. And then obviously we haven't even talked about Joey Slackman yet either, being on that defensive line either. I think, just from the practice film that I've watched, some of the practice sessions.
Who do you want? Who do you want?
There's so many bodies right now you could talk about, like a Cameron James or Jamari Lyons or, just anybody that like you just pick a name, and I think that Joey Slackman, and especially the video, you can just look at that guy. That's a football dude. Like, that guy's the war paint everything football dude there, and I think he's going to get a lot of PT as well this season, just coming off the Ivy League and all the other awards that he's won over there. Being like, I think he was like the 3rd ranked or 4th ranked portal guy for the defensive line. One of the guys that Florida jumped on really, really early. Obviously was battling an injury there when he first started. Now he looks to be pretty well in shape. He's been getting full pads. And look, man, so far, so good. No injuries. So, dude, I'm just pumped. Like, you can talk, literally, you can talk at just about every position right now, and we have some sort of depth on it. And that's something we didn't have last year.
Can you confirm that Big Dez is playing fullback this year, Cam?
I know.
I got him.
Oh, that's good. Hey, then wasn't it Don Terry Poe throw a touchdown pass for the Chiefs one time? Wasn't that a thing? I don't see not.
Well,
fourth and inches at the 1 yard line.
Get him the ball.
He's got to make the quarterback tall enough to get it up to him. But hey, if you're up, you're up. Let him roll. Let him do it.
Yeah, we've already seen him pick up a fumble and run it back, so might as well just try it out of fullback.
Give the ball, baby. Just give Big Dez the ball. People are kind of asking in the chat where's he at. I've heard he's lost some weight. He's down to like lower 4s when he was up at like 440. He's down to the lower 4s. Looks good. Tyler said it in his presser that he's doing well.
Yeah, I was about to say he's lost like 35, 30, 40 pounds.
Yeah, and Desmond Watson, it's been the story of the offseason, it feels like, for the last 3 off seasons is, where is he at with his weight? Where is he at on the depth chart? Is he making progress in strength and conditioning? It seems like he's made a lot of progress this year. Again, he's lost a lot of weight. I think he was up to 460 on the roster last year, and now he's down to 430 or 440, something around that range. So, he's a big guy, but the fact that he's losing that weight, especially because this is his last year, it's now or never for him. That says a lot about the strength and conditioning program, as well as his dedication to staying on track and keeping at it. Because I know it's no secret Florida's had weight plans for guys who are a little bit heavier set. It's that way for every Division I college football program. If it's a bigger guy, they'll have a weight plan for them that's specialized, different from just your regular players. And they have weight goals and whatnot to meet the way that they would have to, meet certain speed times if you're a skill position. And Desmond Watson, is no secret, is one of those guys who probably had a lot to do with those extra workouts, meeting those weight goals and whatnot. And it seems like he has. He's lost a lot of weight. And, again, I think the big thing for him is he's not going to be expected to be out for 2 drives at a time. The way that he had to a little bit towards the end 2 years ago. And at some points last year, he finally gets to go in for a couple plays. They sub him out. They bring in a guy like Caleb Banks, Joey Slackman, Cam Jackson, whatever, just name it. They bring in a guy like that.
Doesn't matter. We got 5 stars all around.
Comes back in, he's all ready to go. So it's the stress is off to an extent because there's not as much pressure to perform every down.
Sure.
But it also helps that he has lost that weight and he's making progress. The big thing going forward is, can he keep that weight down? Obviously, he's lost a lot of weight before,
sure,
and gained it back. The big thing going forward is, can he maintain that weight loss and heck, maybe even lose a little bit more? You got almost 31 days until the season starts. Can he keep that up? And again, it's now or never for him, considering it's his last year.
And look, it's always a topic of conversation. It's nothing but love. We want Dez to be as successful as possible, and he's a big boy naturally, so he's going to carry more weight than most, but you got to have it be at a certain level to be able to perform at a higher level, and I think that's what we're hoping for, and it looks like he's making those strides. So great stuff. Justin McLeod, $5 says, "Go Gators." Swamp was on fire. I'm on fire, boys. Now, before you go, Cam, we've been rolling. We're humming. I'm loving it. I'm dialed up. I'm jazzed up. If you guys can't tell, ready to rock and roll and be here. We got some commits we're going to talk about. Let's talk about Russell. I almost said Wilson. Callaway here. Calling the OC. You wrote an article that you spoke to him, or I don't know if you were part of the interview. I don't know how it was written. Doesn't matter. You were there. You spanked him on the way out. That's all that matters. And then we're going to transition with a little recruiting tidbit. Possible another flip could be happening. We landed on one today. Little teaser there before we let you go, Cam. Russ Callaway, is he calling plays, Cam? Because your article told me and Russ told me that he's not, but you in the stash are hiding a secret, and we want to know.
So just to clarify, I was not able to attend the first press conferences. A little secret about my personal life: I work with John Hevesy. Um, so, I early mornings working for the company with the red vest. I wasn't able to attend the press conference, but I was able to read some of the quotes. I got the transcripts back, and talking about it, it's weird because he and Billy have not explicitly said that he is calling plays.
Sure.
Now, granted, they have said he has a bigger voice within the offense. How much of a voice that is, they won't confirm, but it does certainly feel like, considering the lack of explosive plays, some of the unimaginative play calling at times last year, that he is going to make an impact in play calling one way or another. Will he actually call plays for an entire game? Probably not. Could he call plays for a drive or two in the middle of the game? Possibly. He had a lot of success when he was the OC at Samford. They were one of the, and I know it's the FCS, so don't dock on me that it's the FCS versus the FBS, but he had a lot of success in that role. They were one of the top passing offenses in the FCS when he was at Samford. They put up crazy Joe Burrow-like numbers. So again, he brings a lot to the table that Florida didn't have with play calling last year. Between the creative passing plays, throwing the ball down the field. I know everyone was excited about the Graham Mertz to Aiden Mizell pass today. I know that's something that they've talked about in press conferences going back to spring about how they want to create more downfield passes, more explosive plays with Graham Mertz. Last year, they kind of kept him in control because he was a new quarterback, wanted to keep him comfortable. Now is the year that you take a little bit more risks. I think Russ Callaway can provide that for them with some of his play calling, some of his scheme design, some of the successes that he's had in his past. Another thing they talked about was getting Trey Wilson touches, what that looks like for them. He mentioned when he was with the Giants and they had Kadarius Toney. That's something that reminds him of the way that they, can be creative in getting him touches and getting him down the field. And we saw that last year. That's no surprise. But again, I know that sounds like I'm saying a lot of nothing, but me personally, it feels like that he has a bigger voice and a bigger role in the offense than he and Billy and some of the players are letting on. It feels like that he's going to have a much larger role in the play calling. It feels like he has a much larger role in the play design. It feels like he has a much larger role in scheme decisions and things like that than they're letting on. So, time will tell with the difference. You'll see how it looks, if it looks any different from last year come August 31st. But it feels like that he's going to have a larger role than they're letting on. And you add to it, you get helmet communication from the same way the NFL does this year. He's an NFL guy. He has experience with working with, those equipment and things like that. So maybe that's something that helps Billy, where he can handle that side of things. So there's a lot to take away from what he said there's a lot and not a lot to take away from what he said in the press conference. As you said, reading between the lines, reading the tea leaves for something. So it feels like he's going to have a much larger role than he lets on.
What gives you reason to believe those things? What are some of is it gas that you're feeling, or is there a little bit of tidbit you got, like, just from talking around that, like, look, I think, and the reason to keep the secret and kind of try to keep it as hush-hush as possible and maybe sneak up on a few people, because day one, they're going to find out pretty quickly, like, Russ has got to touch on this thing, how much people still aren't going to know, but you think, is that the reason?
Yeah. Again, Billy is a very secretive guy. It's no secret that this staff does not let information out that they don't want out.
Sure.
It's again going back to spring. As soon as Russ Callaway was announced as the co-OC, the first questions were about play calling, and the vibe we all got was that Russ will have input into the play design and play calls, but Billy would have the final say. Ultimately, that's kind of what it feels like. But again, just from how things have worked out and the interest that Florida has in changing the offense with more explosive plays down the field, more plays that are quarterback start rather than just a guy getting it to a playmaker and letting him do his thing. That's stuff that Russ Callaway helps with. That's stuff that he's good at. He used to be a quarterback coach too. Add to it that Ryan O'Hara can now directly coach on the sidelines now that they changed the analyst rule. Just the vibe and the feeling and covering Billy for the last 3 years and the way he talks versus what happens, it feels like that they're not letting on as much as
Gotcha.
they want.
That
And
makes
again,
sense.
the truth will be revealed August 31st. When with play designs. I mean, Billy is a you could tell what play call is a Billy Napier play call versus maybe something else. So you'll see that with Russ Callaway and the changes that they made with the offense. And add to it with the receiving core, they have better receivers to take downfield shots.
Sure.
Aiden Mizell, Elijah Badger has the speed and the experience. Jim Ray DK has that connection with Graham Mertz pre-UF. So it feels like everything's kind of coming together with the offense with some of the guys that they brought in. The Russ Callaway having a bigger role, and I think that's something that fans want to see is more shots down the field because Graham Mertz, his 70% completion percentage was great last year. He only threw 3 interceptions. That's great. They didn't take a lot of downfield shots, so I think people want to see more of that risk.
Look, it's Lion season for us. That means Billy can lie to us, and if he wants to lie to us and tell us he's going to run the ball 600 times for over 2,000 yards and then come out there and throw for 4,000, listen, you can lie to me all day. You can lie all sweetness to me all day. And I think I read somewhere where Mertz did say, look, I'm not going to focus on the numbers this year. I'm just going to go out there and play ball. In the sense, I'm not going to focus on my completion rate. Not going to focus on having how many interceptions I throw, which is another tea leaf you could read to say, we better sling that thing, baby. Buckle up. Dave, what do you got, big guy, before we let little Cam go, before we do a little tidbit, little sprinkle of some recruiting juice?
Yeah, I was just going to add that I think that at some points last year with Billy Napier calling plays, I think the creativeness was there, and I think that he tried to get creative, but I think he did it in the wrong scenarios, and when he should not have done that. I mean, we all remember the Florida State game and some of the other blunders that had happened last year, and I heard a lot about Callaway calling plays in the red zone last year. If you look at the red zone statistics, you went 44 for 48 in the red zone. You scored a touchdown 32 times, 12 field goals, obviously, but I mean, you had pretty much almost a 70% score rate in the red zone. So if you want to, take those statistics and look at what Russ Callaway's kind of done with the team, it may be a good, I guess, a good chemical that you can just combust into the offense, and then hopefully maybe it turns into something, and maybe that, maybe Graham Mertz, maybe he does have a, maybe a second Kyle Trask-like year where maybe he looks pretty good, but then the next year he just
He's Joe
rose.
Burrow. Yeah. Dave the scientist. I love it. Little combustion, I love it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I gotta add a little bit of science to this. You ever know who Bill Nye the Science Guy was?
A lot of Billy's.
Not old enough for that, are you?
No, I know.
I didn't think so.
He's not Billy. He's not Billy, but he's Billy.
Adding to that red zone thing, that was something I also put in the Callaway article. Is last year at Samford, they scored 92 or 90.2% of the time in the red zone.
Yeah. So I mean, like if he's
for that as a coach, as a head coach, you have an assistant on staff who puts up those crazy numbers. It's good that Billy isn't ignoring that and is giving him a bigger voice in the offense. But again, it just between everything and the goals that they have for the offense, the goals that Graham Mertz has for himself, the things that Billy has said kind of without saying, and the things that Russ Callaway has said without saying, it feels like he has a bigger role than they like to let on. So, and I'm sure you'll see that this year if they take more downfield shots, if the execution is a little bit better on those creative plays, if the timing of those creative plays is a little bit better, because they had these fancy trick plays, but they called them at some of the worst possible times. Maybe Russ Callaway, maybe he doesn't do something like that, and I think you'll see that a little bit this year.
Errol Walker, $5 says Gators by $1 million, Billy in his back. Absolutely. Cam Parker, boys and girls. Okay, go give him a follow. It's at Cam Parker on X, right?
At Cam Parker
20 what?
25.
That's what I thought. I almost said that, but I didn't want to mess it up. Before we let you go, and make sure you guys will give him a follow, turn on notifications, get the clips for tomorrow morning or the next 3 days. Also, tweet him your request. No, don't do that. Don't blow him up. I'm just kidding. I read on a Ohio State blog that kudos to Keith for sharing it. I think it was Keith. Had me go take a look. But Jarquez Carter, Ohio State and beat writers are a little concerned about though Carter there in Florida flipping him, which is something that we talked about with you the day before he committed. Again, he's in the backyard. Florida, he can go hang out with Florida all the time. It's like, yeah, we're a long distance relationship, but she still lives next to her ex-boyfriend and they hang out every now and then. We're the ex. We're the dirty, slutty ex, and we're going to come on in there and bring it on down. Look, that's The reason I bring that up is we've got some big time flips happening today, big 3 commits, which Dave and I are about to get into. But give us your thoughts on Jarquez. Apparently, he was there this weekend again.
Yeah, I heard he was at Grill in the Ville. Heard that some of the current commits were working on him. Prior to his commitment to Ohio State, the day before, he was with a couple of his teammates at the North Central Florida Media Day, which I was privileged to be a part of. Just quick shout out to Joshua Wilson and Mike Rideout for a lot of the high school guys who are known around the state for letting me come up and help out with that a little bit. But I got to speak with Jarquez. It was 24 hours before his commitment. The crystal balls for Ohio State were already in. Pretty much known that he was going to commit to Ohio State. But I asked him, how locked in is this commitment? What is your plan for the fall with visits? And he kind of gave the stereotypical, well, I'm committed. That's the school I want to go to. He's known that that's the school he's wanted to go to for a while now, things like that. But the visit thing intrigued me because he said, I'm still planning on taking my visits and I'm going to hear coaches out, but the school I commit to is maybe going to be the one that I commit to in December or that I sign with in December. So it doesn't feel like this one's over, and again, that's a lot of the way that Gator fans and the coaching staff should feel about a lot of recruits in this classes. Just because they're committed somewhere doesn't mean that it's over. A lot of these guys want to see how Florida does on the field this year. I think Jarquez Carter is one of them where you talk about the defensive line room, maybe it hasn't had a lot of success the last couple of years. How do they look under Gerald Chapman? How do they look with a full group? And maybe that's something that Florida can, eventually complete the flip. It's not an Ohio State lock, I don't think, just from, talking with him. And again, Florida being in his backyard, he's extremely close with Cam Jackson. It's Florida. It felt like Florida maybe had the lead early on. He took more out of state visits, and Ohio State eventually got that commitment. But again, this doesn't feel like it's something that people should just, frown about and get upset about and call it a day. This one feels like it's going to go all the way through the fall, and I think Florida has a chance to make plenty of progress with it.
Love it. That's a big time defensive lineman that Florida could get rolling on after a big day today. 3 sunglass tweets from Billy on the best day of the week. Cam Parker, always a pleasure, my man. We are going to be all over your Twitter over the next few days. Hopefully you get a rush of people DMing you for requests on what videos they want, and for good reasons. But Cam Parker 25 on Twitter /X, boys and girls. Cam,
Yeah.
we love you, man. Go Gators. Hope the cats are doing well. Tell Mama Parker we love her, even though she made you cut your hair. We're always forgiven around here.
Kat has a brother. My roommate got a 10-year-old Basset Hound Beagle type mix, and the two are wreaking havoc in our new apartment. So it's quite the dynamic duo of chaos right now. But he's doing good. He's taking a nap right now to my left. So
Hell of
it's
a
all
roommate,
good in the
though.
park.
Basset Hounds are the best.
He's not sneaking into poop, is he?
No, he just sneaks into everything else. But
okay.
I love it. Thank you, Cam. Appreciate it, man.
All right, awesome. Thanks, guys.
See you up.
Good game.
540 strong, boys and girls. Go give Cam Parker some love. Show him some love. Be sure to, again, to smash the like button and subscribe. Before we get into the recruiting content that we have been rolling in today, boom, boom. Be sure to check out hightopsport.com to get your Beat Miami shirts. Dave and I are right now looking sexier than ever.
Man.
We sold like 30, 40-ish shirts. There's 90,000 that fit into the swamp. We got a few more seats to fill, boys.
Come on, right is left, left is right, Dave, on the camera. You got to know that.
You know what I'm saying? Smash the like button. Let's hit 200 likes before the end of the show. So, first order of business, boys and girls. We got to talk about it. Big time flip. Posted a video about today. We had Keith Nabier on Monday, giving us inside scoop. Not only did we flip the 2026 recruit Demetrius Samuel from Syracuse, which Syracuse has been on an absolute burner since they got the young man from Georgia to go up there and be their head coach. Can't think of his name at the moment. But he's also reclassified. So he's no longer a 2026 commit. He is a 2025 commit. Now, we spoke about this with Keith, so I have all the information. I know what you're going to ask. Well, if he was a 4-star in 2026, what is he now in 2025? I don't know. That's the answer, and that's what Keith gave me too. He doesn't believe that he'll drop back much, but he thinks that there will be an adjustment period because he's been compared to the current class that he's in, which is 2026. And now he's obviously going to forego his senior season, but he plays both sides of the ball. The write-up on him is extremely athletic, very fast, does track and field, like our boy A. Mizell did as well, too. So all around fantastic athlete. He's actually rated as an athlete on 247. Demetrius Samuel. I know you got some data on him too, Dave. So I'm going to pass it over to you, big guy, to give us the scoop on old DS.
Yeah, it's quick stats right here. Receiving 6 receptions for 106 yards, 17.7 yards per catch, 2 touchdowns, 1 carry for 5 yards. Doesn't really rush the football that much. All-purpose yards, though, 440 total yards, 48.9 yards per game. That includes receiving, rushing, kick returns, and interception returns. Find the article on High Top that I wrote. 5 interceptions, 19 total tackles, and 1 pass defended. I mean, this kid's top 100 guy. I believe he was rated 52 in the top 50 on 3. But if you go composite, he's around, I think it was 82, 83. So he's a top 100 guy composite. And look, man, you really needed a safety, especially after whiffing on just about every person that you probably could have this cycle. And, you know, when I got the news over the weekend of, hey, look, we might have a reclassification from the top 100 guy, I was like, okay, all right. So Billy is kind of cooking here a little bit. So, really good addition here. And usually, I will say, when they reclassify those kids, you put them from 2026 to 2025 or whatever, they usually kind of go down a little bit. Sometimes it just depends on where they place him, what these kids did in camps. Not saying that, he can't go to camps, rise it, make it, or he might still even be in the top 100. We don't even know yet. He could be the top 150. I know a couple of kids that got reclassified and they went from like top 100 to 300 though too. So it's just a matter of time. Of course, if it was a Georgia player, he'd probably be in like number 20 or something like that if he reclassified. But I mean, hey, look, it's a good pickup. You needed a safety. You got a safety. You got an elite safety from 2026 reclassified to 25. Get him in early. Get him strong. Get him in that strength and conditioning program. Let's go to work.
I love it. Big pickup there with Demetrius Samuel. Very exciting stuff. I loved it. I was getting the tweets, but that didn't happen first. Actually, what happened first was 2026 commit. Now, before we get into the 2026, both of them were 2026 technically, but Demetrius has changed back. Safety, Devin Jackson. Will Harris, that's 2 credited to Will Harris. Look, I was actually talking about it with our Oregon guy. The whole recruiting world has shifted. And we're ranked 5th currently in 2026. We are moving heavily on 2026. And it's ironic given the fact that we can't learn 2025 guys because they feel they want to see what happens. But 2026, Billy's not going anywhere. We're dialed in. Look, I think it's important that it seems, is it further than what it normally has been? Yes, but I definitely think that the world of recruiting has taken a shift a few months ahead, because what used to be the signing day of February has now become the norm, which is in December. And there's obviously talks about an earlier signing day happening in the middle of the summer. So this is, in my opinion, to kind of give you like a where we at, a correlation of this right now for 2026 is what what December usually is. That's what I think is happening. I'm not like for certain, but that's where, again, how we saw this summer play out, how we saw the Grill at DeVille, Friday Night Lights, how all these things have shifted, right? This leads me to believe that this is going to be the new norm for 2026. So it's not as weird and as far out as it seems, although it is far out. So that was my justification of like, hey, why 2026 guy is exciting, because we're already kind of in a way headed into that cycle already, as crazy as it seems.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be upset whether we get a commit or not. Obviously, if it's further away, like you said, a lot of people will be like, it's 2026. Let's see, let's wait it out. I'm always like a waited out person anyway, especially after what happened last year. So, I mean, this class could be way better by the end of the year. You never know it, but I mean, this is a good pickup here too, man. He's around like the top 300 or top 250 right now, which is actually pretty good considering he's only played 20 games. He's had 116 total tackles, 64 solo, 52 assisted. He's averaged 5.8 tackles per game, 3 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, 7 passes defended, 2 fumble recoveries. I mean, these are pretty good stats for somebody that's played in 20 games as a defensive guy. So, I mean, look, anytime you can add a guy to your 2026 class and he's already in that like top 300 version, that top 250, I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, usually those types of guys will either linger and stay in that area or they move up into the top 250, 200, vice versa. And I looked a little bit at his film, man. His film isn't that bad either. Like he's pretty good. So I'll be curious to see where he winds up, I guess, towards like the end of the cycle, or maybe like once these camps start for the 2026 guys. I'll be really curious to see if maybe he can rise that ranking a little bit. But it's pretty solid pickup, man. I'm not going to lie. And you're off to a really, really good start. I think we have like the number 7 2026 class. I know it's still early.
2026 top 5.
Top 5. Yeah,
Come
there
on,
you go. What site was that from? Was that on 3?
247.
Okay, I think I looked at on 3 or
Look, I
somewhere
think
else,
both
but
are important. So yeah.
it doesn't matter. Top 5, top 10, whatever. You're starting off pretty juicy there for 2026. So I mean, hey, look, you added a quarterback. You got this guy. And look, hey, hey, look, it's high top, baby.
Come on,
We
baby.
we roll.
We rolling. We also landed no star defensive lineman. Now look, Dave and I were talking before the show. This guy comes out by himself. People are gonna lose their bananas. So I think it was packaged into a 3-package deal. Because look, it's not the one that's gonna knock you off your feet. And Keith was kind of alluding to a diamond in the rough pickup on Monday. I'm assuming this is what he was talking about. Joseph Mbatchou, 6'6", 285. This is gonna tip people over. Hasn't played a snap of football. So that's what we're working. Look, these guys have become more popular, right? We've seen it over the last couple of years. Noah Mbatchou, but he was from Germany. The young man that just committed to Georgia, the big offensive lineman is like 6'7", I think, or 6'8", that we were supposed to get. Same thing, played football, or played basketball, not much football. There seems to be this correlation with basketball players, I guess, transitioning very well into football. Look, it's not one that's going to knock your socks off. Let's see how his senior season plays out. I expect him to probably get a couple stars behind his name before the end of the year, but this isn't one that's going to move a needle. But still a Gator, boys and girls, and we're welcome to the family. We don't have any stats to go over.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you want stats, 0 sacks, 0 interceptions, 0 games played. I mean, I could run down the whole stat line here, but no, I mean, like, I can't tell you whether it's a solid pickup or not, but I will say for the size and for how tall he is, about 6'6". I mean, you might have you a diamond in the rough here. And look, like these guys, and even these 0-star guys, they eventually wind up getting at least 3 stars anyway, because of just, you'd have to be really, really like a kicker or really, really bad to get like 2 stars, whatever. And, but his offer list didn't have but us as an SEC school, which is fine. It's whatever. You just have to see how this guy performs. And like I said, 3 stars. I mean, if he shows out at camps, he can earn a 4th one. I don't think he's going to go up to 5 unless he's like some kind of freak like Gervin Dexter type to get a 5th star. But I mean, look, give him a shot. Let's see how it goes. But hey, look, I'm okay with it just based on the fact that like we needed somebody for that position. So maybe you do find a diamond in the rough. Maybe this guy winds up being your all-time sack leader in 3 or 4 years.
Muddy said right here, kid reminds me of Ziggy. Nas, a top 10 pick from BYU, never played football before college. I mean, they're out there. And look, you can't have, I was saying before the show, you can't have 22 guys of diamonds in the rough. But every now and then you got to have one every class. This is going to could be the diamond in the rough. And look, by the end of the year, he could be the man. And we'd be like, all right, he's not even a diamond anymore. We got a good one. Even in I was reading his interview from, I can't think of his name, from 247, Alderman.
Like Alderman?
I think it was Blake Alderman. His quote said, he said, like, look, I talked to the coaches. The coaches really laid it out to me better than any other program could. And the coaches, when I committed to them, said, look, other guys are going to come after you now. And he's like, not a problem. I'm dialed in with Florida. So that was good to hear. Before we go into our last little bit here, let's go over a couple things, boys. A couple super chats. Super chats are flowing tonight. We got 540 strong. We just hit 200 likes. I mean, this show, we are just humming. Truth Seeker says $5. Can we get a name? Can we name a player that has reclassified in the past that actually turned out good? Go Gators.
That is a tough one.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for that one, Truth Seeker. I mean, I don't have an answer. Can I go back? Can I study and then come back? I don't have one off the top of my dome. It's tough. I'm sure the chat will. I'm sure the chat will.
I think a couple of the guys that did reclassify or came JUCO wound up like transferring in Dan Mullen's class. So, but like, I hate to say that and I hate to do that because like Dan Mullen just took whoever he could get. Like, so it's really hard for me to say, oh, okay, well, just because they reclassified and went to a class, like they're not going to be good. Look, Billy Napier actually evaluates the talent and gets them to come here. So they might be better than Dan Mullen's talent. I don't know. But Dan Mullen really didn't care. He just took anybody.
Keith on Monday's show said, look, this staff, and this is like outside sources have accredited this staff of being one of the best talent evaluating staffs out there. That doesn't mean they just find every diamond in the rough. And he said this, but they have been, again, a lot of people have given them credit. Like these guys are great at evaluating talent. Keenan Johnson says $5. I'm jacked for the season. The energy feels different this year than it has in the past. It sure does. We're in line season. And Jarvis Barber says, okay, guys, I'm going to need you to both to start the show from the beginning because I just got here. All right, boys. Hey, guys, welcome back.
All right.
Real quick, though, shout out. While we were in the middle of the show, I get 2 alerts. Ready for this, boys and girls? Ready for this? William Bohannon ordered his shirt, and Matthew Horn, two orders of Beat Miami
Oh,
shirts.
man, here we gotta give him
Hit the
like air
horn.
horns or something.
Hit the
Hold on,
horn, baby.
let me find my air horn over here, man. Like, there we go. Got my
Bang,
air
bang.
horn.
Bang, bang, baby. Now we kind of talked about it with Cam a little bit. This linebacker room, Dave. Look at this graphic, by the way. I'm going to post this bad boy. I worked in this way longer than I should have.
Yeah, that's better than Hayes Fawcett, man. You need to start making graphics.
Easy. He walks so we could
I'm
ride in a wheelchair.
I'm kidding.
Look, man, this linebacker room has me fired up. I think is the biggest part of it. It's the heart of that defense. It really is. And you saw when Shamar James went down last year, that linebacker room was lost. It had a lot to do why we lost Mbatchou, in my opinion. There was just zero heart in the middle of the field. We had just guys running around lost. Again, it's got to stay healthy. I think Wingo is going to. I mean, he's poised to have one of his best seasons yet. There's who's going to be the guy who's going to start next to Shamar James. I think Wingo's going to come out first early on. That's kind of the talk. I think it's just like, hey, you've earned the starting nod, but Pup's going to see the field a lot. And we love Miles. I love Miles. Aaron Childs is gonna make a run for this bad boy, and I think we saw some guys like Jaden Robinson. I think the guy that transferred. The linebacker room gets deeper than what we're looking at here, which is amazing, right? Like it's not guys that are gonna knock your socks off, but it just lets you know that it's. I mean, last year we had Nunnery. I think Nunnery, he's still there. We were clawing at the bit to get people to start.
And RJ Moten moved to linebacker too.
Oh, RJ Moten from safety. You're right. So Nunnery left.
Yeah.
Nunnery transferred. Moten went down. So a couple of guys in there. Again, Jaden Robinson, I think he's a 2024. He came in with the class with Miles Graham, or the class before that, actually. Class before Miles Graham. So he's a sophomore headed into this year. So, I mean, obviously he's going to grow into that position. But I think Pup is going to make some strides. Obviously, he's didn't play much in South Carolina, kind of like Cam said. But this linebacker room gives you that Brandon Spikes vibe. It's a room that can truly and genuinely make a difference. And for this defense, again, it sounds crazy, but when you play with the defense on NCAA, you start to understand this defense and what's needed. And what it lacked last year was good linebacker play. That 5-3-3 defense, or 3-3-5, excuse me. You have to have linebackers that are versatile, that can move quickly, and that can can plug the hole at the same time. Like Cam was saying, we didn't have that last year. We didn't have guys that could stuff the hole, and they weren't fast enough to cover either. They weren't big enough to cover tight ends. They were tweeners. We were in a recipe for disaster, and I think that's going to play a big factor into the defense having more success as well too. And again, I think you need good cornerback play, which we'll talk about all these position groups much more as this summer goes on, or fall camp goes on.
Yeah, I think Shamar James obviously has got that one position locked down. I mean, we saw what happened when he went down last year and how that linebacker core just completely fell apart. I mean, like Pup Howard was struggling. Anybody they put in there, it was just it was terrible.
Pup didn't play. You said Pup Howard was struggling.
Oh, I meant what do you know who I'm talking about? Scooby Williams. My bad, not Pup Howard, guys. Sorry. But yeah, Scooby Williams was struggling over there. Now you got to. I think it's going to be I had Pup Howard. Like I was looking at Pup Howard's name when you said that, but I think that like it's going to be Pup Howard and it's going to be Derek Wingo competing for that second spot. And there's like a lot of talk that Derek Wingo probably will seal maybe that spot right now. But I mean, like Pup Howard's got some good competition there with him too. So, like I said, it's good to have the competition. I don't think you had that competition last year. So that's a good thing. You've got Miles Graham, you got Aaron Childs, obviously. Those are two guys that were elite guys there. And look, I mean, when you combine TJ Searcy, RJ Moten, Jaden Robinson, all these other guys, I mean, like, look, you create competition, and that's what you want. You want competition in some sort of positional group. You want extremely good competition. You don't want to be having competitors as like not competing against like guys that aren't that great. I mean, obviously we had RJ Moten move, but like you want guys competing with other guys, like dogs competing with dogs, because that's how, you get good linebacker play. And I think right now you have a pretty solid core, a good foundation for the linebacker spot right now. And obviously you got a good future with Miles Graham and Aaron Childs. Obviously, I don't think any of them are going to transfer when it comes down the road, especially Miles Graham. I mean, this is his dad's school. This is his school. So, I like it. I like the fact that now at every position you can name 3, 4 guys, maybe 5, maybe 6. And last year you couldn't really do that at all. And you couldn't do that the year before either. So as far as like just any position that we talk about, like you have so many things, like so many scenarios, especially in in these camps. You got 3 to 4 more weeks to decide, hey, look, who's going to start. That's a good thing. So I don't even really care who starts at linebacker because at the end of the day, I picked Derek Wingo to be my MVP. So if he starts, I'm going to be pretty happy. If Pop Howard starts, I'm going to be pretty happy. So that linebacker spot right there, I'm good with.
Aaron Childs is 6'3", 230. Pup Howard 6'4", 235.
Yeah.
Some size there, boys. And then Shamar's at 6'1", Miles at 6'1", both 220, 225, 230-ish. So a lot of size there. Yeah, 6'1", 230 for Shamar James. Every bit of it. So this, and then Derek Wingo, of course. But and look, I'm excited for Derek Wingo. I think Derek Wingo, incredible young man, great head on shoulders, fantastic leader. The team loves him. I hope he has major success. I mean, we saw what he did last year, but I think he was dealing with an injury. And also there was reports too, I think, who said it? Slaughter talking about Barber, where he was hurt all year last year, and it got to the point where he just couldn't play anymore. So I think this team wasn't as healthy as it led on as we thought it was. I think a lot of that had to do with strength and conditioning, guys just getting beat up during fall camp. I think that hopefully plays a factor, but we'll see. Marcus Burke was not on the playing field today. But the base, he's good though. There's nothing to be concerned about from what I gathered. But he wasn't out there.
Yeah, I heard it was like non-disciplinary, non-injury, everything was fine. So
You know what it probably was?
yeah,
Or it was the best day of the week, and he's like, "Yo, go, coach. I gotta go get ready. I gotta get. It's like I gotta pop. It's Netflix and chill basically for the boys." And he's like, "Hey, I gotta go get ready for the show. I gotta go order my Beat Miami shirt and be dialed in." Which I mean, could you blame him?
Yeah, I mean that's what I would have thought on like Wednesday. I woke up and been like, yeah, it's the best day of the week. I got my Miami shirt on, man. Like that would be on my mind. I wouldn't be even thinking about practice. Really,
practice, not a game, not a game,
not a game.
We talk about practice.
Practice.
Muddy says, all this talk about Childs, I'm more excited about Ball. We didn't hear much about the running back room, which I'm not mad about. I feel like that was a big room. We got a ton of noise from last year with ETN. Look, I think we know what we got with the running back room. I feel like that running back room has been...
That's what I'm saying. I think
it
it's
wasn't
pretty...
an issue. It wasn't an issue last year, and I don't think it's going to be an issue this year. I think I'm excited about it, but it's like, block for those guys, and they'll run. You know what I mean? Like, that room has so much talent. It's like, just give them a hole. Let them do what they need to do. Running was not a concern.
If this offensive line performs really well, it's going to be dangerous. That's all I'm going to say. Like, yeah, I mean, like where there's competition, you're going to hear more of. Where there's like pretty set in stone, like who's going to be your RB1 and 2. I'm assuming it's going to be Montrell Johnson and Trayon Webb for the first part. Maybe maybe Jaden Ball or Caden Daniels, they get in there and maybe get the third. And you know what he did? Like, and I'll even say this. I know a lot of people like Ball, and they're like, oh, I want to see Ball. Look at what Billy Napier did his first year, right? He had what was it? No, Malik Davis. It wasn't Malik Davis. He had Naquan Wright in at first, and then he had Montrell Johnson. And then he started to see, hey, look, I'm getting more run out of ETN. So he switched over to ETN.
Naquan
and ETN
dropped
kind
quick.
Yeah, he dropped quick. He wound up transferring to the portal. So it's not like that Billy Napier is saying, like, looking at 3 or 4 running backs and saying, well, I'm just going to run these 2 just because they've been here longer. No, that he actually looks to see who's more productive and gives them that role.
Yeah, the running back room was probably the least room that I wasn't worried about. I'm worried about the other rooms. I want to hear more about those. So, look, Cam said he'll be watching other rooms. LG McCray, obviously, not much was talked about him. I think eyes were on Pyburn today. He's back from injury. It looked good. Pyburn, man, I think a lot of people were excited. I love Pyburn, obviously. The guy plays with the heart of a lion. I think size is going to be what keeps him.
He lays the wood, too.
All right,
lays the wood, babe.
Come on, Dave.
Lays the wood.
I'm just kidding. Hayward Platt says, are you guys doing a show at the Florida-Miami game? Well, Hayward, do we got something for you?
Are we doing a show?
This guy's adorable.
Come on.
So Friday we're doing a show at Alma Mater in Gainesville, Florida at 4. We haven't ironed out the details yet of the time. We're waiting on another event. We might be doubling up. Saturday is going to be jam-packed. Saturday will be at Harmonic Woods. Tailgate is what it's looking like. Burning that to the absolute ground. 9:30 to 10:30 will be our High Top Game Day show. Then 11:30 to 12:30 will be our pregame show, which Dave and I will do that together from Harmonic Woods Tailgate, and then we'll get hammered for 2-3 hours and then watch the game. I mean, that's a
Yeah, I
pretty
was about,
solid plan.
I might be hammered before we get on, but that's fine because I'm at Harmonic Woods. But I mean, hey, look, you're gonna get drunk Swolder, so that's what you want to see. Everybody likes to see drunk Swolder, so you're gonna get it.
That's what we're here for. 540 strong for almost an hour. You guys are incredible. The excitement and hype for college football is real. I was trying to do the math of how many lies that I was going to tell in the next 31 days. The calculator aired out. So I can't tell you how many it's going to be, but I imagine it's going to be a lot.
Yeah, I know. I tried to like put in the calculator of how many games we were losing, and it just gave me 0.
That's good.
So.
That's great. Yeah, if you do 0 times 0, it gives you 0.
Yeah, it does. If you do like 15 times 0, it gives you 0 too.
Because we're going 15-0.
Yeah, maybe even like 45-0. Yeah, I mean, it may have went into next year.
Anything is possible when it's July, when it's juicy July. Boys and girls, I appreciate your support tonight. As always, we love you. Go give old Cam Parker 25 a follow on X. Give him some love. We're not losing, boys. Smash the like button. Go get your Beat Miami shirts at hightopsport.com. No S. We can't afford the S. Monday, Champ's Corner will be back full in session. Already confirmed it with the champ himself. We'll have more film to go over. Love getting his insight on the spring camp or on this fall camp. We get little tidbits. We read the tea leaves. We do as much as we can to break down what we can hope to expect from this football team going into this next season. Until next time, I'm Shelton.
I just support you.
Peace and love, baby.